All right, Chapter 3, Practice Exam. Number 1, solve 4x squared plus 27 equals x squared using square roots. So remember, on this one here, we don't have a middle term, so we can just go ahead and take our x squared here. We're going to move it over to the other side. When I move it over to the other side, I'll get 3x squared plus 27 is equal to 0. Again, I'm going to subtract 27, so I'll get 3x squared is equal to negative 27. I'm going to divide through by 3, so that'll give me x squared is equal to negative 9. Again, to undo a square, I'm going to square root it, and we are going to put plus or minus here, and then I'll have negative 9. All right, now, as in class, what I did here for you guys was I said, I'll still go ahead and work it out here. So again, I have that negative under the radical sign, so I'm going to make that an I and put it on the outside. And the square root of 9 is 3. So remember, whole numbers go in front of the I. Radicals would go behind it. All right, so now on this one here, like I told you, on this one here, again, they don't have a 3i here anywhere. All right, they have plus or minus 3, they have 3, they have negative 3, but they don't have a 3i. So if you remember on the very first section there, we just had a no solution. So no real solution. Again, we have an imaginary solution there, not a real one. Okay, so problem number 2, solved by factoring. So we're going to, again, I've told you again, look at the middle last term there. If it's negative, it doesn't matter. One of them is going to be positive. One of them is going to be negative. All right. And again, like I said before, think of factors of 21 that will give you a positive 4. So 7 times 3 is 21. And that will give us a positive 4. Now remember, I told you today, don't think that that is your answer, because again, it's x plus 7 is equal to 0 or x minus 3 is equal to 0. So again, you can just go ahead and take the opposite of what's there, or you can go ahead and use the 0 property and work it out. So I'll have x minus 7, x equals 7, negative 7, or x is equal to positive 3. So negative 7, positive 3. On this one here, all they did is they took the 72. Remember, since it is a quadratic, set everything on one side of the equal sign and set it equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract the 72, and I'm going to set it equal to 0. Same thing here. Again, I have a negative here, so automatically one's positive and one's negative. And again, what are factors of 72? That would give us a minus 1. And you would tell me minus 9 plus 8. Okay. Now again, what I just talked about here, let's do it quickly. I'm just going to take the opposite there. So x is equal to, well, v in this case is equal to negative 8 and positive 9. On number 4, it says find the zeros. Remember, when it says find the zeros, we're setting it equal to 0. On this one right here, there's a negative in front of the x squared term. Remember, I suggested that you factor that out, and whatever you have left, just change the sign. So we're going to do x squared minus 9x plus 18 is equal to 0. So again, now think, I'm going to divide that negative, or negative 1. It's just going to go away. 0 divided by negative 1 is 0. So we can just go ahead and say that x squared minus 9x plus 18 is equal to 0. So on this one here, again, just kind of think that one's negative. When that one is, positive, excuse me, when the last term is positive, you have to check the middle term, and then it will be both of those. So on this one here, since it is negative, both of them have to be negative. So I'm going to have x minus and x minus. Factors of 18 that equal 9. Everybody got this one real quick. It was 6 and 3. So again, what's going to make that 0? What's going to make that 0? X is equal to 6, and x is equal to positive 3. Number 5, this was the one that I kind of told you we would have to do the box in the X. The diamond in the box is what they call it, but we always make it an X. So again, I'll put it over here off to the side for you. So I'm going to take the first term and the last term, and I'm going to multiply them. So when I multiply them, I get negative 60x squared. And then I told you to take the middle term here with the sign and put it on the bottom. So that will give us a negative 7x. Now, remember, I'll do this for the people who weren't here, but I said let's look at factors of 60. So if I do factors of 60, again, you told me 10 and 6 the first time. Well, that's not going to give us a 7. But then you guys said, well, that's 5 and 2. Well, now if we combine the 5 and the 2 and the 6, that'll give us 12. So on this one here, 5 and 12, well, that'll equal 7. So on this here, remember, we just decided that we're going to put negative 12x and 5x because the higher number is negative, so that makes sense. Negative 12 plus 5 is equal to negative 7. And then remember, I said once I got that there, I'm going to make a box here. And I told you I'm going to put the first and the last term in one of them. So I'm going to put 2x squared and minus 30 in one diagonal. Again, I told you it doesn't matter which one you use. And then I'm going to take the 2 that I found. These 2 here will go in the other diagonal. So I'll put negative 12x and I'll put 5x here. And then remember, I told you I'm just going to factor the columns here or the rows. I just tend to go this way first, just a personal preference. Again, you might want to go this way first. It doesn't matter. You're just going to factor whatever is in common to them. So if I look at that, I notice that an x I can factor out and I can factor out a 2. So now I'm going to say 2x times what gives us 2x squared. And you told me x. And then I said 2x times what gives us negative 12x. And you told me minus 6. And then since this one, we've already taken care of this side, we still have this missing piece here. So x times what gives us 5x? And you told me 5. There's our factoring. So now we can say that x minus 6 and 2x plus 5 is equal to 0. Well, the first one, again, that one's kind of simple. We can just say x is equal to 6. On the second one, though, we might have to do a little more work. So if I set that equal to 0, I'll have 2x plus 5 is equal to 0. I'm going to subtract 5, so I'll get 2x is equal to negative 5. And then I'm going to divide by 2. So I'll get x is equal to negative 5 halves. So there are our 2 answers. I'll put them at a different color in there. So this will be 6. Well, that's not a different color. guess I didn't hit that fast. Good enough. There's 6, and then negative 5/2. Remember, I told you if you don't, if you have the signs wrong, I will take partial credit off. I'll give you partial credit, but I won't mark the whole thing wrong. Number 6, find the square root of 162. So a lot of you said, oh, there's a negative underneath, so I'm going to make that an I already. So I have I times the square root of 162. And a lot of you notice that 162 I can write as 2 times 81. And a lot of you said, well, the square root of 81 is just 9. And the square root of 2, I'm just going to have to use that. So remember, the whole number goes in front of the I, and then the square root goes behind the I. Oh, there's our answer right there. Number 7, find the values of x and y that satisfy the equation negative 12x plus 8yi is equal to 3x minus I. Sorry. So remember, I told you the real part equals the real part. So we can say that negative 12 is equal to 3x. And if I solve that for x, I'll divide both sides by 3, and I'll get x is equal to negative 4. I'm now going to do the 8yi is equal to negative I. Again, the real parts equal the real parts, the imaginary parts equal the imaginary parts. So 8yi is equal to negative I. And then I suggested, well, why don't we divide both sides by I? And then we would have 8y is equal to, and again, I divided by I is 1, so it'll be negative 1. And to get y by itself, I will divide by 8, so y is equal to negative 1/8. Number 8, we're going to write that in, so 5 minus 8i minus 2i times 2 minus 3i. We're going to write that as a complex number in standard form. So the first one there, that's just going to stay the same. So 5 minus 8i. Remember, now I'm going to distribute this negative 2i through the parentheses. So negative 2i times 2 will give us negative 4i. And then negative 2i times negative 3i gives us a positive 6. And I times I is I squared. But as we've talked about before, but I squared is equal to negative 1. So we'll have 5 minus 8i minus 4i plus 6 times negative 1. Well, now that becomes a real number. So 6 times negative 1 is negative 6. So now I'm going to combine the real terms together. So I'll have 5 minus 6. And then I'm going to keep minus 8i minus 4i. And I'm going to combine those. So 5 minus 6 is negative 1. And negative 8i minus 4i is negative 12. So minus 12i. There's your answer on that one. All right. On number 19, remember we're just going to FOIL it. So I'm going to multiply the first terms. So 4 times 2 is 8. I am then going to multiply the outside terms. So 4 times negative 5 is minus 20i. I am going to multiply the inside terms. So I times 2 is a plus 2i. And then I'm going to multiply the last terms, which would give us 5i squared. So minus 5I squared. But again, remember we just said up above that I squared is equal to -1. So again, I'm going to have 8 minus 20I plus 2I minus 5 times a -1. Well, negative times a negative is a positive, so 8 plus 5 is going to be 13, and negative 20I plus 2I is equal to minus 18I. And that'll be that one right there. All right, find the zeros for number 10. Again, when it says find the zeros, we set it equal to 0. On this one here, is there something that I can factor out that is in common in both of those? You told me yes, it's 6. So we have x squared plus 3 in parentheses. Again, when I divide both sides by 6, 0 divided by 6 is 0. So our answer is x squared plus 3 is equal to 0. I'm going to subtract the 3 now. So x squared is equal to -3. X is equal to plus or minus the square root of -3. Again, there's a negative under the radical, so we're going to put an I there. And since I can't do anything else with 3, I'm just going to keep it under the radical. Remember, I told you on this, the top path is plus 3 I root 3. So you're just going to put the I. They don't need the plus sign in front of it, but they do need it in front on the negative when we follow the bottom path. Number 11 is solve x squared minus 10x plus 31 is equal to 0 by completing the square. So remember, I told you to keep the x squared and the 10x on one side of the equation, and then move the 31 over to the other side, so that becomes -31. Once I get there, remember, I suggested that once we get there, that you do x squared minus 10x, and then I told you to put plus a blank, and then do it equals. Well, we have -31, and again, on this side, we're going to do plus a blank also. So remember, I told you to have this. So having that, half of -10 is -5. So have it, and then square it. -5 squared is 25. So I have to fill in both blanks with 25. So on this side here, this side is now simplified. That became this. On this side here, when I simplify that, that will give me -6. Okay, so now we're doing what we just have been doing. So to get rid of a square, I'm going to square root it. And since we are in algebra 2, we are going to put plus or minus the square root of -6. Now, since it is a negative under there, start thinking to yourself, can I just pull out an I and put it like that? Okay. And then to get x by itself, we're going to add 5. So we're going to move this -5 over to the other side. And remember, I'm going to put it in front of the plus or minus. So I'll get x is equal to 5 plus or minus I root 6. So remember, you're going to say 5 plus I root 6, and then 5 minus I root 6. Okay. Again, remember, if they already have the x there, you don't have to put it in there twice. So don't do that again. Okay, with a couple classes, that's where I finished. A couple classes, I did get to the last one here, number 12 here. So if we look at number 12, remember on this one here, I told you what to do. Since we have two variables, we have our y here and we have our x's. So since we have that y there, we are just going to go ahead and put it all on one side. So I'm going to have y equals, we're going to do x squared plus 16x. And then I told you to put plus a blank. And then we have our minus 7 there. And I told you, since it's on the same side of the equal sign, we have to put a minus a blank there. Okay, so now I'm going to still do the same thing. So this all right here is going to kind of go, this is our completing the square part. So I'm going to take that 16 and I'm going to divide it by 2. So I'm going to have the 16, which is plus 8. And then, so I halved it, and now I'm going to square it. When I square it, that will give me 64. So again, in both blanks, I have to put the same thing. So I have 64 there. All right. Now remember, I still have that y equals. So what happened here is that this part right here became my x plus 8 quantity squared. The other part, again, I'll have minus 7 minus 64. Well, that'll give me minus 71. So this part right here became this. Now it's vertex form. So that's our answer. That's what you would put right here, right? And then our vertex, remember, our vertex, we take the opposite of that one. So that would be negative 8. And this one here, we take the same. So that would be negative 71. So our vertex is negative 8 and negative 71. All right, the next two are just quadratic formulas. So again, when I use the quadratic formula, I'll put it off here to the side. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. All of that is underneath the radical sign. Remember, that is the discriminant. And we will be talking about that on the last problem. And then we're going to say 2 times a. Okay, so our a in this case is 3. Our b is negative 7. And then our c is equal to 5. So when I plug that in, remember I told you what I do is every single time I have to put something in that form. Whenever I replace a variable with a number, I put it in parentheses, and this should show you why. So x is equal to, I have a negative, and I have a negative 7. So there's my b, plus or minus the square root of negative 7 squared minus 4 times a, which is 3, times our c, which is a positive 5. And all of that is divided by 2 times 3. Okay, so if we work this out, I'll go over here for you. So the first one here, a negative times a negative becomes a positive. So I have 7 plus or minus, again, I have the negative 7 squared, which is 49. And then 4 times 3 times 5. Well, we just did that. That's minus 60. And all of that is over 6. Now, let's simplify it some more. So I have 7 plus or minus. I'll have the square root of what? Negative 11. Oh, we're going to have to do something with that. Over 6. So let's see. Whenever I have a negative under the radical, I told you to make it a 9, pull it out, and then we'll have 11, and that'll be over 6. Now, on this one here, what they want is they want, again, if you follow the top path, we'll have 7 plus I root 11 over 6. That's where you should put that one there. And then the other one is 7. If I follow the bottom path, I'll be 7 minus I root 11 over 6. Okay. So we're going to do the same thing on the next one here. Again, I'm going to have my A is equal to negative 2 this time. My B is equal to positive 6. And my C is equal to negative 7. All right. Well, I just put the formula up on the top one, so I don't think I have to put it on this one here. So again, I'll have x is equal to negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 6 squared minus 4 times negative 2 times negative 7. All of that over 2 times negative 2. Okay, so now if I do that, I'll get negative 6 plus or minus. Let's see. Underneath the radical, I end up with negative 20. And again, on the bottom there, I'll have negative 4. If you think about it, negative 20 or 20, because again, I'm going to put that I out there, correct? So 20 becomes 4 times 5. And you know that the square root of 4 is 2. So I'll put that in front of the I. So I better make that I a little better. So I said 2I root 5 over negative 4. Now, if you think about that, ladies and gentlemen, on that one there, is there something I can factor out? If I look at the top here, okay, I have a 2 here. Well, 6 is 2 times 3, and this one here we know is 2 times 2, so it looks like I can factor out a 2. So I'm going to factor out a 2. And then I'll have negative 3 plus or minus I root 5. And on the bottom, again, I'll have 2 times negative 2. Well, the 2's are going to cancel now. So the top path will give us negative 3 plus I root 5 over negative 2. Now, that's the way they show it. So hopefully that's the way it will. On this one right here, I would show a little leniency if they try to do it differently in the test. Okay? But again, and I'm only saying that because of the 2 negatives there, right? So I have a negative there and a negative there. So some of you might try to simplify it and you might do it wrong, but that's okay. I will give you a little leniency on this one. So this one here would be the same, so I would have negative 2 there. Okay? And then finally, the discriminant. Remember, on the discriminant, we have 3 solutions there. I mean, not 3 solutions, 3 options, all right? So again, you're just going to look at, remember, the discriminant is b squared minus 4 times a times c. That's the only part that we really need to worry about on this one here. But again, everything has to be on the same side and set equal to 0. So on this one here, we're going to have x squared minus 3x minus 7 is equal to 0. On this one here, we can write x squared. Again, let's put it in the correct order. Plus 6x minus 9 is equal to 0. And on this one here, I have the 6x squared there. I'm going to take the x over to the other side, so it becomes plus x. I'm going to take the 1 over, it becomes minus 1. The first one was all by itself, so now again, we're going to just do the same kind of thing here. We have a is equal to 1, we have b is equal to 5, and we have c is equal to 9. So if I do that one here, and I do have a little room down there to work it out. So on the first one there, again, b squared minus 4ac. So our b is 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times 9. All right, so that's 25 minus 36, and that will give us negative 9. So remember, if it's negative 9, that's less than 0, so that will give us 2 imaginary solutions. So I'm going to take in this one here, I would go to 2 imaginary solutions. So that one will go right there, okay? Now we're going to do the same thing on the other 2 here. So, other 3, excuse me. So on this one here, again, our a is equal to 1, our b is equal to negative 3, and our c is equal to negative 7. So on that one there, negative 3 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 7. All right, so that'll give us 9. Negative times a negative is a positive. So we'll have plus 28. And again, that equals 37. Or you could have realized it was greater than 0 at the beginning. So that one will give us 2 real solutions. All right, so that one gives us 2 real solutions. All right, and let's just do the other 2 here the same way. So let's see here. Why don't I again do a different color there? So I'll have here a is equal to negative 1, b is equal to 6, and c is equal to negative 9. So on that one there, I'm going to have negative, let's see, b squared minus 4ac, so b is 6 squared, minus 4 times negative 1 times negative 9. So I'll have 36. And again, let's think here. Negative times a negative is a positive, but I have another negative there times a negative. So all of that will be a negative. So I have 36 minus 4 times 9 is 36. So that one is equal to 0. So that means we have 1 real solution. And when I drag that one, so that one will go up here. Okay, now don't think I have to fill in every single one here. I don't. So let's do the last one just to make sure here, people. So on the last one here, again, our a is equal to 6. Our b is equal to 1. Our c is equal to negative 1. So on that one there, I have b squared, which is 1 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 6, times a negative 1. which will give us, let's see, 1 negative times a negative is positive, 4 times 6 is 24, times 1 is 24. So that will give us 25. And again, 25 is greater than 0. So what did we say last time when it was greater than 0? We said it was 2 real solutions. So that one there, again, will go here. So we'll have 2 of them that are the same. Okay? So we won't have anything here. And that should make sense because they only gave us 3 options when we did the test. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you, those of you, like I said, fast forward through the stuff that you didn't see. Well, I should have said that right at the beginning. Hey, good luck. See everybody tomorrow.